So I am very, very, very thrilled to be here at Relate to talk to you about key trends in pornography in 2018. I didn't realize I'd get to talk about my hobby. This is great. I'm scrapping the deck, and I'm just going to talk from the heart. No, I kid you. Now, before we get to the trends, before we look forward to the next 12 months, let's cast our gaze backwards. And I promise I didn't realize how graphic that was. On my laptop, it looked a lot less graphic. So let's cast our gaze backwards. The last 12 months, forgetting the politics and the nukes and all the rest of it, we've seen all kinds of wild innovation. A Swedish company called Wheelies rolled out checkout-free retail in China. Now, I know Amazon is prototyping this, they're testing it out, but this is an autonomous kiosk. This is essentially a bodega on wheels. It rolls to where the demand is, and you use your phone as the primary interface when you shop there. I'm also a Tesla fanboy, although I can't afford a Tesla, but 12 months ago, Tesla did the impossible. They made roof tiles and solar panels sexy at the same time, and they've been installing those on the roofs of their employees this summer. This year, we saw the unicorn Frappuccino do battle in your Instagram feed with its arch nemesis, the goth latte. Who will prevail? Only one will survive. We also saw United roll out their involuntary departure service. They tested it once. I wonder if he got that auto-generated email, how did you find your flight? So, a lot of wonderful change happening around the world, some mistakes being made. We heard about distilling complexity into simplicity. We always try and do this at TrendWatching. And how do we look at all of this madness happening around the world, every minute of the day, the rate of change accelerating, and make sense of it? Well, we have a dirty secret, a counterintuitive approach. We're obsessed with your customer, we are obsessed with consumers, but we don't ask them anything. We don't survey them. And I'll be citing some surveys here and there, like the Edelman Trust Barometer, which we've already seen, but we have a different approach. We scan the world with the help of our spotter network, 3,000 volunteer spotters from Mexico City to Manila, sending us product innovations, service innovations, new startups, new business models, new customer experiences. And we interrogate these innovations as a data point and say, how do they meet the customer's needs better, and how will they drive up their expectations? So really, my job at TrendWatching isn't watching trends, but it's helping you understand emerging expectations so that you don't fall behind and try and serve your customer something that they're not happy with. Now, you're going to continue to see examples from within your category, from far beyond your category. And this is a key point. You compete in an expectation economy, and it doesn't respect your local market, it doesn't respect what vertical you think you're in. Expectations smash through those borders. So it doesn't matter if you're a shoemaker, Google is heightening expectations related to personalization with your customer. The Delta example that Mikhail talked about, doesn't matter if you're not an airline, that is heightening your customers' expectations. Patagonia every year cranks up expectations related to ethics and the environment. Now, another thing to confess, tracking trends is a complete waste of time. Total waste of time. Unless, of course, you ask yourself, and I will stop after each trend and give you a moment to say, how does this impact my business? Does it impact our vision? Does it impact our business model, our products, our services, our customer service, our customer experience, our marketing, our tone of voice? Ask yourself that question and ask yourself which customer, who out there could we be delighting? Who's got these emerging expectations? Okay, so we have 5 trends to go through. I'm going to go through them quite quickly, but I'll be able to email you my deck if you don't get any of the definitions or any of the notes. And the second thing I'm going to say is some of these haven't been released to anyone yet, so before you leave the room, we're going to destroy your phones and notebooks. Okay, so AI. We've already heard about AI. It's the buzzword du jour. Now, my favorite way of talking about AI, we could show you stats from Gartner or Forrester saying how disruptive it's going to be, but I love this from Y Combinator, the accelerator that brought Dropbox, Airbnb, and Reddit into the world. If only they could take Reddit back. But essentially, these are the keywords in people's pitches to be in Y Combinator's accelerator. And those related to AI, deep learning, machine learning are taking off like a rocket ship. So we know there's a lot of innovation in this space. Now, the consumer doesn't understand it. Your customer doesn't know what a neural net is. They don't understand deep learning. But they are getting used to something we already heard a bit about today, that they can outsource some of their decision-making, some of their thinking, even something as intimate as saving money. So Digit was launched 2 years ago, and they said, we're going to use an algorithm to keep track of how much money comes into your checking account and how much goes out, and we're going to move a precise amount of money into a savings account on your behalf. This is not a niche offering. They've saved over $500 million for their users so far. So what happens when this expectation that Mikhail touched on of increasing automation collides with the world of commerce? Well, we see our first trend, A-commerce. In 2018, move aside M-commerce, move aside e-commerce, shoppers will look to hand over almost every element of the sourcing, bargaining, purchasing, tailoring, and even delivery of products and services. Now, we saw Amazon launch Amazon Dash replenishment service, and nobody noticed because this was 2 years ago. They launched it at the same time as the Dash button, which was a better story to write about and read about, but also because it really solved white people problems. It was like, your Brita filter, your internet-connected Brita filter is, it's running low on Brita. I can't bear to add it to my Prime shopping basket myself. So anyway, that's the low-hanging fruit of replenishment. And we see Walmart in the same space. They filed a patent for a toothbrush that notices how often you pick it up and how often you're brushing your teeth, and then figures out when you need to replace your toothpaste. And literally this morning, I covered myself in shaving cream because I had an empty tube. So I hope they roll this out quick enough. OK, so beyond this low-hanging fruit of replenishing fast-moving consumer goods, we see automated bartering. Drift is a Seattle company who launched in New York this year. You pay them a monthly subscription service, and they use machine learning to estimate how much energy you're going to use and then barter for you in real time with the energy suppliers to get you the lowest possible prices. These are the benefits of e-commerce, saving you money. Now, I love this startup. This is a New York-based startup called Finery, which promises to be the operating system for your wardrobe. So who's thinking of Cher from Clueless with her, love that thing. They finally launched it. So this scans your email receipts and identifies fashion retailers, and then populates your digital closet and alerts you when that pair of shoes that was ugly but you bought anyway because you could return them. It warns you that that window is expiring so you don't lose your money. And they've helped save over $200,000, and users have 3.3 million items in their virtual closets. Back to Amazon, because when we're talking about commerce, they are consuming the world. Jeff Bezos is a world eater. But this is the Amazon Echo. The Echo Look was launched kind of invitation only in April of this year. It has a camera in it, so you can say, Alexa, take a picture of my outfit. Alexa, get changed, take a picture of this outfit. Which outfit should I wear to the conference today? And she will use machine learning to recognize the latest trends and your body shape to make a recommendation, hopefully politely. Now, the next step for this, and this is the second and the last patent I'll be including in my presentation. Everything else is already on the market. But this is a patent they filed where they will actually tailor-make clothing for you. So if you're a clothing brand, Amazon is going to be taking your customers' their measurements, it's going to be recommending styles, and it's going to be tailoring clothing for them and delivering it to their home. So that whole process is going to be automated by that monstrous company, Amazon. So what do your customer interactions look like in the emerging era of automated commerce? If consumers are outsourcing these moments, they're handing them over, perhaps the moments that your business is built on. What happens when that's automated? How do you respond? I'll give you about 20 seconds to think about that for each trend while I take a sip of water, catch my breath. OK, ready for the next trend. Now, we live in a landscape, you all operate in a landscape of ruthless competition. You have startups, legacy brands offering free trials, offering to cut your prices in half. I thought that was a very compelling ad campaign myself. But when I called up and said, they're saying they're going to cut my bill in half, Verizon was like, well, there's fees and all the rest of it. But anyway, people are trying to steal away your customers, and in fact, close to 80% of Americans say they retract loyalty faster today than they did 3 years ago. What a brutal phrase. Imagine if someone was breaking up with you and they said, I'd like to retract my loyalty. This isn't working out. But OK, how do you keep up in this world of faster and faster loyalty retraction? Well, let's take some inspiration from Apple and their smart home speaker, the HomePod, which the first thing I noticed was it looks like a shower loofah. That's not the actual HomePod, of course. The second thing I noticed was this idiot-proof feature, where you can literally put it anywhere in a room. You could put it behind a column, on top of a bookshelf, under the coffee table, and it analyzes the room and figures out where it is, and adjusts the sound for you. So while I wanted to call this trend idiot-proofing, this is actually adaptive by design. So consumers are spoiled with these honey traps, luring them into your business, with free trials, cut prices, and all the rest of it on the way in. But once they purchase, brands in 2018 will really innovate on how they can continue to serve, forgive, and adapt to the needs of the customer. So what does this look like in practice? Well, here we have a company from the UK. Whoop, I was on the wrong slide. Here we have a company from the UK called Curve. They're a credit card and debit card aggregator. So you can put all of your credit cards onto one and essentially travel with this, and anywhere they take MasterCard, it works. Pretty nifty. But the feature I really like, if you, like me, get yelled at by your spouse for using the wrong credit card at the wrong time or wrong place, you can, up to 2 weeks later, essentially time travel back and change which credit card you put that charge on. So that's a company that's adaptive to the mistakes of their customer. Again, we have a company from Canada that's adaptive to your mission to self-actualize, to change. They're a sportswear company called Ryu. They've just opened a store in New York, actually. And they say, look, you want to change shape, you want to bulk up, you want to lose weight. We're going to adapt to that. We're going to help encourage you along, bring in the garment that you've bought from us that now no longer fits you because of this transformation. We'll give you 50% off and donate the old one to charity. Here's a rescue mission, so adapting to the mistakes of not your customer, but someone else's customer. This Kiwi couple went to Paris on their sort of dream vacation. They end up in the Louvre trying to see the Mona Lisa, and they can't see it because so many people are standing in front of it taking selfies. And they post this on Instagram, and some savvy operator from Oslo Tourism says, we got to rescue these guys. So, of course, it's a great PR campaign. They phoned them up and said, we're going to give you a free vacation to Oslo. Meet us at the airport now if you're up for it. They showed them around, took them to galleries, showed them the sights. So they poached a customer from a rival tourism location. And then again, back to Tesla. So that was a marketing stunt, but this is an actual rescue mission. One customer who was fleeing Hurricane Irma knew that, like a lot of batteries in your phones and things, the Tesla limits you from using the full capacity of the battery. So I believe he tweeted at Elon Musk, help, I'm fleeing from a hurricane, what can you do? And from the mothership, over the cloud, they extended the capacity of the Teslas in that area. That is a company that is adaptive and responsive in an emergency to the needs of their customers. So is your organization well placed to adapt and respond to customers' changing needs in 2018? I mean, you are all in this space, customer service, customer experience. What are you doing to adapt, to forgive, and respond to the changing needs of your customers? Okay, so we spend a lot of time in messaging apps, on WhatsApp, on Viber, on Slack, on Facebook Messenger. In fact, you had close to 400% increase in this time in the US in 2016. That's why the kind of buzzword for the 2017 trends, was conversational commerce and chatbots. And I know Capital One will be here later this afternoon, so I won't go into too much detail, but you see some poorly deployed chatbots and some well-deployed ones, like this from Capital One, that use AI to understand natural language, to have a conversation, to help you check things like your bank balance. But where is this headed? Where next for this? Well, again, we can sort of take some inspiration from Apple, who posted a job listing, someone spotted this, for a Siri software engineer with a peer counseling or psychology background. Now, that is really interesting. First of all, I want to sit next to that person at a dinner party. And second of all, why are they doing that? Well, they recognize there is this shift from thinking that these virtual assistants should be able to tell you what the weather is or what time it is to actually providing something more meaningful to make the leap from assistant to companion, to help educate, to help entertain, to help heal. So this is the direction we're seeing these interactions with bots and essentially these virtual characters go. So when you see 3/4 of people in the US recognize that mental health is a key factor of health overall, check out this initiative from a handful of developers called Replica. So this is an AI that it's essentially a replica. You converse with it via message and these sort of journal entries, and it levels up and gets to know your personality. And really what it's providing you with is someone to talk to 24/7. And this might seem a little bit like a Black Mirror episode to some people in the room. But not everybody has someone who's there to listen to them and hear about their day and respond to them 24 hours a day. And if you try and download Replica now, you'll find you're about, I think you're going to be about 200,000 deep in the wait list for this. So turn your attention, please, to Japan. This is Hatsune Miku, a virtual pop star. She's 10 years old. Well, actually, she's 16. She'll always be 16 years old. But she was founded 10 years ago, and she does these, she releases virtual albums. She does performs as a hologram. I'm sure you've seen the headlines about that a few years ago. But I love this initiative from a phone company in Japan and Blue Leaf Cafe, where they brought her into the restaurant. So you could use augmented reality, essentially, to have a date with Hatsune Miku. You could take a selfie with her as you shared your food. So why does this apply to you as businesses if you're not in media and entertainment? Well, 72%, this is a great stat from JWT, from a really interesting report, 72% of regular voice technology users say brands should have unique voices and personalities. So you shouldn't just be relying on Alexa or Siri or Cortana, but you should have your own personality. That means the MailChimp chimp needs to be there. Well, actually, maybe not a chimp. That wouldn't be very helpful in resolving your problems. But what does this look like in practice? A brand getting its own personality out into the world. Well, let's turn our attention to the Netherlands, where KLM, they're always doing great things. They rolled out this care tag. So this is a GPS-enabled tag that for 1 month, this September, so last month, if you flew into Amsterdam, you could clip one of these to your bag. It would figure out where you were. Are you standing opposite a museum? If you were, you would hear one of their flight attendants, who knows the city really well, giving you advice related to that location. Now, this is just a campaign. It's a rough and ready sort of prototype. It's an experiment. But I think it shows you the direction we're headed with expectations. Your brand should be there where I need you to be, and you should have that unique voice and provide something more meaningful than simply helping me pay the bills or resolve an issue. So could you provide something even more meaningful than great service? Could you aim for companionship, which of course takes trust and a whole lot more? Okay, so I mentioned trust just then. Trust is the theme of the day. This is the research we've already seen cited today, Edelman Trust Barometer. It's great reading. I look forward to it every year as much as I look forward to the pumpkin spice latte. Trust in institutions is declining, and this is the epic point they make. There's been this shift from top-down influence from the politicians, the academics, the journalists, the experts, to the bottom of the pyramid. We trust each other. This is what you heard from Sarah, more than we trust those people at the top. The pyramid has flipped. So Edelman's recommendation is that you work with, the crowd, essentially, that community of peers. And we've been tracking trends in that space for some time. You can find things online like peer armies. We've been writing about that, tapping into the base of the pyramid. But what about someone else your customer trusts? Themselves. Can you give them these moments of truth? Rather than preach at them from the top of the mountain, these are your values, this is what you should do. Can you empower them with the information they need to make choices that match their preferences and values? So what does this look like? Because it sounds very conceptual. Well, let's take a breakfast cereal as a starting point here. Now, General Mills, to much fanfare, said, we're getting rid of the artificial colors in our cereal. And everybody said, good for you. And then their customers said, wait a second, they're all brown. Like, what happened to my tricks? I like my tricks to glow in the dark in the morning. So they said, you know what, you're right, we made a mistake. We've heard you, and we're bringing back the radioactive tricks, and you can now choose between the two options in the supermarket. They're saying, here's the information, you have it, do with it what you will. A really extreme case of that, I just think this is wild, comes from American Apparel, a company who went bankrupt, and got acquired by the Canadian company Gildan, and they are taking quite a big leap here. They're saying, you know what, even though the name is American Apparel and their clothing was made in LA, people don't care. As long as we're looking after the workers, even if it's made in Puerto Rico and Bangladesh, if we pay a fair wage, it's a safe factory, and we tell the consumer that, they don't care. But you know what, maybe we'll give them the choice, those who really want American made. So you can buy identical products right now on American Apparel's website where you pay about 20% more for the American-made version. That's what you can see here. It's about $10 more for a hoodie if you're buying it American-made. So they're telling you, look, if those are your values, it's up to you, live by them, it's going to cost you $10. Okay, what if you have made a mistake, a different mistake to General Mills? You've been using women's asses to sell beer for decades. And you go, oh shit, like this is kind of sexist and misogynist, and this is not how we should sell beer. Forgive us. But they said, look, they brought female graphic designers in, and they said, like, let's reimagine some of these campaigns from the past. And also, the moment of truth was they said to their audience, their community, they said, if you're out there and you see our old sexist style marketing, let us know. We're going to come down and we're going to swap out those posters with the new ones. And our final moment of truth, can you start a meaningful conversation with the customer? If Combank can do it at an ATM, then the sky is the limit. So this is an Australian bank, and they asked, when you get your cash out, you didn't have to answer, but they asked these deep and searching questions. Is the Australian property dream a reality? Are we educating our kids properly? They got 460,000 responses for this survey, showing their consumers, we care about the future of Australia, and we care what you think. So, can you empower your consumers with moments to stand by and celebrate and even share their values? So you don't need to be preachy, you just need to be transparent and give them that choice. And by no means am I recommending the American Apparel strategy for every business. There are moments where you want to stand by your values and not give the choice. I'm not saying that Patagonia should start selling fleeces where they strangle the geese while they're alive. You don't make a fleece with the geese, you make a down jacket, but never mind. Point stands. They just strangle geese anyway, just when they're stressed. It's like a stress ball. What am I talking about? Okay, final trend. Final trend. Some companies that have had scandals this year, I won't go into them, but quite a few scandals. Feels like the year of the scandal. Why has that happened? Well, for a long time, your company was a black box. This means that you had the privilege in the 20th century of painting whatever message you wanted on the outside. This is who we are, this is what we care about, this is what we offer. It was up to the customer whether or not they believed you and went for what you'd painted on the outside of the black box. Yet, you now all operate in a world where over half of the world's population have access to a smartphone. That is insane how connected the global population is. That means if you drag a passenger off the plane, it's going to be live streamed. That means if you have a diversity manifesto in your company, it's going to get released to the wider world. So, you live in an era of glass box brands. I want you all to recognize it's not just your marketing team who sets the agenda of what your brand stands for. So if everybody can see all of your internal values, then rather seeing this as something to panic about and get paranoid and how do we shatter the glass box, ask yourself, how can we improve our internal culture? How can we make meaningful, positive changes to our culture and tell that story to our customer? So just one example, here we have Thrive Global, Arianna Huffington's new venture for corporate wellness, for consumer wellness. You know, what kind of wellness company would they be if they didn't look after their own employees' well-being? So they did something pretty brave. They said the new policy is all of the emails you get while you're on vacation will be deleted. So an email reply will be sent to the person saying that's happening, and they can get back in touch with you at a certain date. But you don't actually just send it out and then have, after your beautiful, relaxing vacation, you get back and you have 200 emails to go through, because that completely ruins the point of the vacation. And you can download this app and install it at your own company, although I asked our MD and he said no. So, another example from Japan, this is Cortec Communications, you know, putting their money where their mouth is and saying our priorities so that you get the work done and you enjoy your life. So we don't want you to stay long hours to try and get a bigger bonus at the end of the year. Those of you who get your work done, who don't work overtime, get a bigger bonus. Now, it's not just processes, it's not just, you know, HR decisions. It can be even something as personal as an interaction between two employees. So in Taiwan, you know, same-sex marriage is still not legal, and it's pretty taboo. And an employee there had been in a relationship for 11 years, and she wanted to marry her partner, and her, you know, her family weren't going to attend the wedding, and her dad was not going to walk her down the aisle. So the CEO of the company caught wind of this and offered, you know, if you'll have me, I'd be honored to walk you down the aisle. Now, I would show you the video of this, but every time I play it, I start weeping. So please find it on your own. It's incredible. But this is showing, you know, just by caring for their employees, here I am on stage telling you all about this moment. So you don't have to have a perfect internal culture, but you do have to take steps to move in the right direction and tell your customers that story, what you're doing to improve your culture and prove you share their values internally, not just on the outside. So if your internal culture is a powerful asset, what steps can you take to improve it? And they can be small, but it's better if they're big. Okay, so we had 5 trends there. It's a lot to take in. We had e-commerce, our first trend. In an era of automated commerce, you know, which moments in the customer journey would your customer like to automate? How does that impact what you do with your role? Adaptive by design. Can you idiot-proof your products? Can you have forgiving, adaptive responses, you know, responsive services? We even saw a retail opportunity where you could take back a product when it no longer suited you to encourage you along with your self-actualization. Virtual companions. Can you capture the personality of your brand with a virtual representative, and can you provide something more meaningful than kind of basic problem-solving customer service, as important as that is, no disrespect. And then, not finally, penultimately, moments of truth. Rather than preaching from the top of the mountain, we are the holiest brand, can you, inform the consumer, give them those moments of transparency, and empower them to make choices that represent their values? Finally, speaking of values, do you practice what you preach with Glassbox brands and your internal culture? So please do email me if you'd like a copy of the deck. I'd like to say thank you, and I will be sticking around for a fireside chat.